All right, it looks like this is working, Nolan. Looks like we're on the internet for everybody to see. We're
Look at us
doing it.
go.
I
21st
know,
century. Woo!
right? Isn't this amazing? Yeah, yeah, it's happening. What's up, everybody? I know some of you that are watching this over on the YouTube or over on the Substack. You know that I've been live streaming a little bit, dipping my toes in it, not announcing it ahead of time. And Nolan, who I was a guest on his podcast recently, and he's going to be on an upcoming episode of 1000. I'm actually going to drop that this coming Tuesday. We did each other's pods, and we're like, Nolan, you said to me that you wanted to do some more live streaming. And I said, that sounds like a neat idea. And here we are.
Heck yeah, no, this is exciting. This should be fun. Got plenty. There's never a shortage of news to go through, so this should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we got some fun stuff for you. So the main lead story that we're going to get to later is Bernie is trying to force a vote on selling weapons to Israel. And that's breaking in real time. So we'll check for any updates too when we get to it, because that was supposed to be in legislation today, potentially. We got some Melania, Trump, and Epstein news, which is never a dull moment. We got some domestic news, some good news out of New York City, some not so good news out of Los Angeles, and some psychotic dystopian news from Amazon. But we're going to start in the electoral space with old Eric Swalwell. Most people have probably heard about this in some capacity by now, but he's out. Not only is he out of the governor's race, he's resigning from Congress altogether. We'll go to it and then we'll talk about it. Check it out. Eric Swalwell drops bid for California governor after sexual misconduct allegations. Democratic Representative Eric Swalwell said Sunday he's dropping out. I'm suspending my campaign for governor, he said. To all my friends, staff, family, and supporters, I'm deeply sorry for mistakes in judgment I've made in my past. Talk about cryptic. I'm deeply sorry for mistakes in judgment I've made in my past. Then he goes on to say, I will fight the serious false allegations that have been made. Okay, so they're serious, but they're also false. But he's deeply sorry for these mistakes and judgments that he's made. Nolan, you are a master of language as an academic. What do you make of that wordful?
Well, I would have told him he should have talked to his lawyer, but he is a lawyer. So I don't exactly know what he was trying to do there, but I think, for like a lot of people, when he first made that comment about like, I've made mistakes, and I think he said something about like, I've screwed up in the past. To all of us, that was like, okay, man, there's fire here. The entire story may not be perfectly known, but there's something here. It's not all BS.
If you're going to give that disclaimer just for the humility sake of it, you would frame it differently. Like you would say something like, "Look, I've made mistakes in my past, but I have not done this. This is totally false." Like you would say something like that. Not like, "Well, I'm sorry for these errors in judgment. By the way, these things are false. But sorry about these errors in judgment. I'm not going to go into any further detail on that one. I'm just going to leave that hanging." Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
It's
like,
shady.
yeah, I've made mistakes. I've changed lanes without using my indicator, but I did not commit rape. Something like that. It would have been
Yeah.
a little more clear.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, just a little bit. So all right, he said this this not shady thing at all. That, by the way, it looks like, I feel like he probably just had Chat GPT do this for him. And like so like the M dash is like complete, like that's just what it spit out to him, and he's like, I'm just gonna run with this. His statement follows a torrent of criticism from both sides of the aisle after a former staffer alleged that she had sexual encounters with the congressman while she was working in his office, and he sexually assaulted her twice while she was too intoxicated to consent. NBC News has not verified her allegations, but it confirmed her identity and that she did work from him for Swalwell from 2019 to 2021. And then there were about 4 other women who came forward as well. I think the total is at about 5 as of the streaming of this.
yeah, and when the first story, so the first story was San Francisco Chronicle, which is obviously a paper close to his district, and then CNN did the follow up with 4 others. And two of the women between those two stories mentioned, one of them in particular said this story that she went to the bathroom and the thing she knew was waking up in his hotel room, having been raped. And there was another one who said,
God.
I think she was drinking with him. And next thing she knows, she woke up in bed with him on top of her. And both of those sounded clearly to me like date rape. I brought this up on the Sunday shows, and people were sort of like, well, you don't know that. I'm like, no, I don't know that, but it insinuates it. A new accusation came out Monday where that accuser directly said date rape as well. So that seems to be part of the MO, or so what connects the stories thus far from the allegations.
It is so freaking gross. And, he's suspended his campaign for governor and he's leaving Congress entirely. And I will say, to kind of just dovetail into everything else, the race for California governor is still an absolute. I mean, like before he left, it was just okay. So we got the billionaire nobody likes, the bully nobody likes, and the sex pest nobody likes, and those are the leaders. Now, well, sex pest is out, so now it's just down to the bully nobody likes and Katie Porter. And if you're wondering what the bully part means, go Google how she treats her staff. And then the billionaire with Tom Steyer. What's your take on Tom Steyer, by the way, as a side note?
Well, I've met him once. He's a pretty charismatic guy, so I see kind of the personal connection. But in a year when Democrats are trying to claim that they're not what people think of them, this like college educated corporate elitists, and they're running on the affordability message in one of like the states that's synonymous with the Democratic Party, California, I think it's a bad look to have a billionaire leading the party into the governor's race. But like you pointed out, like I think Katie Porter, for good or bad reasons, the videos that have come out about her, the way she talks to her staff, I don't think are going to ingratiate a lot of voters. So I think Steyer might be the best bet Dems have.
Jesus, it's so sad. I mean, I don't know. My best, most hopeful take on the guy, um, and I've never met him, but you think about how back in the day, the billionaire class of those eras, the Andrew Carnegies and what have you, they would do a bunch of good, arguably good things, like basically give money away right before they died because they were scared they would go to hell if they didn't do that. Like they were literally scared of eternal damnation if they didn't just give a bunch of shit away. So I'm not saying like Tom Steyer is thinking like, what if I go to hell? But I am saying like, could this maybe be the modern day equivalent of that, where this guy realizes he made a ton of money in some pretty unethical ways, and that's putting it gently. And he's kind of having a moment where he's thinking, man, I want to leave behind something of a little more substance than I made a buttload of money at the expense of a lot. I want to try to fix some of it. I mean, do you think that's possible for like a human?
I do, and it's a weird kind of thing because people always say this about like Donald Trump. With voters, working class voters who supported him, they'll get mocks. People say like, "What, you actually thought a billionaire cared about working people?" And I get the intention of the joke, but as close as we ever came nationally to having anything approaching democratic socialism from the presidency came from Franklin Delano Roosevelt. It was one of the wealthiest families in the country. There's tons of books on how he went through this kind of personality change after he was stricken with polio and worked with kids who had suffered from polio. So there is always kind of, I think, that personal element, personal possibility. And just to be clear, I met Tom Steyer in passing. I can't comment really on him as a person. I don't know him well.
You guys
Maybe
can
he's
hang
had
out
one of those
bars.
moments. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I mean, it's like, and I have no idea whether that's the case or not. It's just like, the type of stuff he's saying. It's just like, well, if he is truly sincere about that, he does have the type of resources that he doesn't have to worry about the insurance industry messing with him. Like
Mhm.
they can't harm him. He doesn't have to worry about the fossil fuel industry. So if he's sincere in what he's saying, I mean, he could actually do something. I'm not, whether he is or not, I have no freaking idea. I mean, I guess I'd like to think so if he's going to potentially get the gig. My favorite candidate right now is Butch Ware, but he might. I mean, he's having some issues with the ballot even. So it's kind of like, well, if you're not on the ballot, you're not going to make the runoff. So
Yeah, and Butch Ware is a pretty sincere guy. Well, he's after my own heart. He comes from academia, but
Yeah,
he's a
right.
sincere guy. But this has always been the problem with the Green Party. They're not fighting the far right. They're fighting the center left. It's always trying to get them off the ballot or make them disappear.
Mhm. Yep. Yep, 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 yeah, and it's like, I mean, here in California, we actually typically have an easier go of that compared to a lot of other states. Like, this is a state where, we have all these jungle primaries, our local races are nonpartisan, so parties aren't involved at all. So it's actually, I'm a registered Green, and I feel like, you know, I'm a registered Green because that's where my politics are most aligned. And because living in California, I'm just kind of able to do that. I know in other states, you hear stories about people like in certain states they registered as independent or they registered with the third party and then they got their ballot and the only thing they were able to vote on is, what day trash collection is going to be. Because they basically force you into like one of the two parties or you just have no say in anything, and that's how they, that's how they keep it the way it is, I think, or one of the ways. And so, in California it's like you don't have those types of restrictions. So it's definitely easier to join a third party, I would say, than a lot of other places. Yet even still, you see nonsense like this where it's like he might not even make the ballot despite polling at a level that certainly deserves to be on the ballot.
Oh, absolutely, especially in a race like this where it's so close. Like, Swalwell was like the leader for the Democrats. I think he was polling at like 17 to 19%. It's not some dominant runaway race.
It's just so I don't know how for some reason we're just incapable of like getting decent like options here. Like it's just I mean even at the like here in LA we're all just kind of looking around going, where is our Zora Mamdani? Where is our Zora? It's got there's a lot of people who live here. Where is our Zora Mamdani? We have to like try to, and I don't know, maybe that person is out there. I mean, I've heard some grumblings about a couple people. I've not looked into any of it quite yet, but hopefully that person's out there. But it's just like, wow. So Swalwell's not the only person who's going through who has allegedly done some terrible freaking things. There's Tony Gonzalez too. I guess it just I guess they're all just, I mean, it's just so like I'm not laughing because of the horribleness of the situation. I'm laughing because it's like these are just such repulsive people that have these jobs, and it really is just a state of these are the types of people attracted to electoral politics. You need to be a sociopath, pretty much. It's just for sociopaths by sociopaths.
I know whenever anybody has a kid, they're always like, "My child could be president." I'm like, don't you want to raise like an honest child? Like, what are you, why are you
See,
doing that to this kid?
See, I truly do believe this. I think that you shouldn't be allowed. I mean, and the Greeks were originally experimenting with this idea. And I think by not going in this direction, they really effed up. They were experimenting with the idea that like holding public office was actually not glamorous at all and not necessarily like something you like it was like an obligation, and so you were recruited to do it. You couldn't run. You couldn't be like, "I'm gonna run." Like, you literally got recruited. Like, it was like jury duty, basically, the notion of it, and I think that's what we should do. I think it should be, like, you should not be allowed to run for anything. You have to be recruited, and the people who recruit you, they have to be individuals with, very strong recommendation letters that a board approves. Like you can't get record. Chevron recommended me. Nope, doesn't work that way.
Sorry,
That's what
that's
I
a
think.
disqualifier.
Yeah, right. So I truly do believe we should do that. I just don't. It's just like I want to run for. Well, you're disqualified. You can't do that. Sorry, you don't get to run now. like, but so Tony Gonzalez resigns from Congress amid backlash over sexual misconduct allegations, noticing a trend. So yeah, there's a Republican down, a Democrat down. I'll be honest, I don't know a ton about Tony Gonzalez. Do you?
No, I
Other
don't
than
know
this.
much about him except for this, and obviously now that he's out, I do know that California Governor Newsom has scheduled a special election to replace Swalwell, but my understanding is Texas has yet to decide if they're going to replace Gonzalez, and I wonder if that's because they're afraid of possibly putting another Democrat in there and shaving down that already thin lead Republicans have in the House.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like kind of a purple district in Texas where he's at. So he submitted his resignation. He was there for 5 years. He had an affair with an aide who later died by suicide. It's really effed up. So this is what he said: "There is a season for everything, and God has a plan for us all." Wow. When Congress returns tomorrow, I will file my retirement from office. It's been a privilege to serve the great people of Texas. Only in the United States could somebody be accused of sexual misconduct and then evoke God in their going away statement, unironically, totally unironically, just and nobody. It's unbelievable. It's just like, wow, yikes, this guy, what a guy. So Republicans are gonna force a vote. Oh, so this is another thing. Um, so this is another person out of Florida. Do you want to take the lead on this?
Yeah, Corey Mills. So this is like a really interesting case, and it actually kind of connects back to Epstein in an odd way. But um, Corey Mills, the congressperson from Florida, and his text messages, I forget if they were leaked or not, but anyways, we have access to them. And he was threatening sextortion. He had nude photos of an ex, and he was threatening to release them and trying to blackmail her. And so there was clearly going to be this vote to censure him on the floor by other House members. But at this exact same time, the Epstein files had dropped. And this is where we found out that Democrat Stacey Plaskett had been live tweeting with Jeffrey Epstein back in, I think, 2017 or 18, when she was had Michael Cohen testifying. And so it's believed that the Democrats and Republicans made a backroom deal where the House Ethics Committee was going to launch an investigation into Mills instead of censuring on the floor. And we know this because Nancy Mace was irate. She wanted to have this vote and oust Mills. But the investigation has basically gone nowhere. That was in December, and they really haven't made a move on it. And now, given how thin the Republicans' margin is, it looks like they're probably not going to want to get rid of Mills as well, because then they're getting really close. I think within like one vote, and Thomas Massey is clearly going back and forth. One vote of losing their majority.
Wow. Okay. So they need to basically keep this guy in his seat. This is a
Yeah.
creepy looking guy, by the way. I don't mean to be shallow here, but this, like, I don't know, if they were like, picture someone in your mind who would commit sextortion. I feel like my mental image would look a lot like this fucking guy. You know what I mean?
Right from Central Casting. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, right? Like, he's got the gig. He's like it's gonna be one of those things where the agent comes in, like, "I got the perfect role for you," and then they read the description, I'm like, "I feel, mildly bad." I mean, I'm still gonna audition. Have you ever had that happen to you, by the way?
What's that?
Well, I guess maybe that was a dumb question. I know you've done some show businessy stuff before, but, like, have you ever gotten, like an audition where you're and, like, your agent's just like, "Yeah, yeah, I thought of you," and it's just like weirdo serial killer role, and I mean, that's definitely happened to me.
No, I think that was just you, Ron. I think that was.
Like, I've definitely got like, "Hey, I think you'll be good for this," and then it's just like it's just like some weirdo, like, serial killer type person, and I'm
You're like
like,
questioning
"Alright."
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, I was just like, "I don't know what that says about me, but okay." Usually it's like nerdy tech guy or, like, goofy dad, but then occasionally it's just like, "We think you'd be good for this serial killer role." They wanna see you read for this. Like, "Alright, cool. We'll give it a go." But yeah, so they're protecting this dude, and, well, let's dig into the political piece a little bit. Capitol Hill ethics purge is poised to spare Representative Corey Mills, at least for now. So the pressure on Gonzalez and Swalwell to resign have shown there are limits to what lawmakers will tolerate from their colleagues, or the public outcry is too much. Like, you really think this is lawmakers taking a moral stand? I feel
Exactly.
like they protect their colleagues at all costs. Like, I've seen it time and time again. I mean,
Yeah,
we all
and
have.
actually, yeah, then to support that, like Swalwell, after he stepped down, his colleagues have now admitted like there were rumors about this going back to November when he entered the governor's race. And out here in the Bay Area where I live in near Swalwell's district, like local media had a heads up on a lot of this stuff for a while. So this was like an open secret. And like to your point, only once the public gets outraged do these Congress people want to kind of like signal that they're on the right side of history.
Mhm. Yeah. So they're going to protect this guy for now, and basically, unless public outcry is so much that they can't protect
Mhm.
this guy. And if the Democrats were a true opposition party, what they would do is they would really start sounding the alarm on this guy to try to force them to act on it. But they will probably not do that. I'm willing to bet that will not happen. What do you think?
No, I think so as well. I mean, there's probably more people in Congress who have other allegations like this that we don't know about that could be, taken
Yeah.
down if the Democrats make a move like that. Do you remember a couple years ago? I think it was Matt Gaetz, and there was one other person. I'm blanking on who it was, but they basically said they were shocked when they came to Congress, and they were talking about Republicans, about the amount of like partying and sex that happens in Congress,
Mhm.
because they thought they were going to like the religious right party, and they said they're shocked about like the drug use and sex in DC. And I've talked to a couple of journalists who have like confirmed that about the DC scene. So I'm sure there's a lot of skeletons in the closet. If you point your finger at one of your colleagues, I'm sure there's a lot of fingers will be pointing back at you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just one of those things like I mean, first of all, we have this bizarre celebrity worship of politicians. That's just weird compared to so many other places in the world. I mean, did you ever and, look, I don't wanna get on a side tangent because there's things to be critical of RBG for and other things not to be, and she's no longer with us. But just, like, looking at it from the surface level, it's really bizarre to live in a society where people will dress up as a judge for Halloween. That's weird. Like, that's just bizarre. I think a lot of other countries, they'd be like, You're what? I'm RBG. Like, a judge? Yeah. Like, what? Okay. That's bizarre. Like was I mean, I don't know. What was the Bubsman costume taken? Like was that occupied? Where what are you gonna be next year? Are you gonna be a chaperone? Like it's just weird. It's weird. Like it's a weird celebrity worship type thing for like the political space in the US. And also by definition, you're one of the most powerful people in the world because you get a coveted vote on issues of war and peace every single freaking time. So, take the whole celebrity worship, one of the most powerful people in the world. You can make limitless amounts of money. You're going to be in the 1% no matter what, even if you play it by the books. So yeah, of course people are doing shady shit. Of course people think they're above the law. I mean that's just like the rot the system produces.
Yeah, and a lot of the staffers who work in Congress, these are folks who are like fresh out of college. So you have like a lot of these kind of like, dorky communications type people who get into these political offices, and they're surrounded by these like college kids who are probably doing college kid stuff like partying and doing what else. And I think they try and like tap into a missed opportunity, and they're being worshipped by these like young kids where they didn't get that with probably when they were in college. Nobody cared that they were able to recite like the history of the Supreme Court justice leadership or something. So like they see this opportunity to impress these young people, and I think that's where you see those kind of power dynamics at play. There's a huge age gap there, that just lends itself, especially when we were talking about sociopaths earlier in office, sociopaths really take advantage of it.
Well, yeah, and also like the only way these kids are going to be able to party in DC is if their boss is footing the tab because
Yeah.
they don't get paid enough to party in DC. So it's just like don't worry, I got the tab.
I
All
remember the
right.
And I remember the first time I went out there, because I'm from California, so you have to get avocado or guacamole with everything. I went to a restaurant and ordered guacamole, and they made it. And I think it was like close to like $45 or something. And I was just like a poor like college kid. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is like maybe $3 at the taqueria at my house.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've never I mean, I've had some good times in DC, but it's never I've never been to DC and been like, "I gotta come here more often." You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's there's a darkness to it. There's a toxicity darkness to DC, and it's sorta like you can't really escape. A lot of great music came out of there over the years,
that is true.
but yeah. Well, let's go speaking of powerful people doing really toxic shit because they feel like they're above the world, let's go over to Epstein and Melania Trump. So we'll start with this. This is a piece from CNN, and this is what she said initially. So Melania Trump's Epstein statement stunned first White House aides, but was in keeping with a first lady who does her own thing. Who approved this headline, by the way? This is a mouthful. Look at that. Look at all
Yeah.
that. That is not good for the algorithm. I feel like they're just tapped out over at CNN. I feel like they realize they're just like no one really pays attention to us anymore. We're just a husk being kicked down the road by like defense dollars and climate denial. So we have to parrot that narrative. And I actually thought I was going to be a journalist. That's like 90% of the people there, I'd imagine, and the other 10% just don't care. Um, so they have headlines like that. Melania Trump's Epstein statement stunned White House aides, but was in keeping with a first lady who does her own thing. What would
Do
you
you need a
grade
drink of
this?
water, take a breath of fresh air after reading that?
I feel like I need a shower too. Like what is I mean, you're in academia. Would you like what would you give this as a score, just as a headline? Like if you were grading this. I know you don't teach journalism directly, but close enough.
Yeah, well, these are the type of titles we would write for like an academic paper, and that's why people hate academics. News media people are not supposed to do this. It's supposed to be
Yeah.
succinct and get to the point.
Yeah, there's supposed to be like a hook here for like
Yeah.
a new yeah, this could totally be in an academic journal nobody reads, but like for a news piece, you want people uh I think I told you this before, but like I'm in a couple textbooks from a piece that I wrote back in graduate school.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah, they could well, I know you know this, but it's like, yeah, they could totally do that. They don't have to pay you a dime, and they don't even have to tell you. They could just do it.
Yep, that's
It's like
pretty
fair
much it.
use. Yeah, like, and if I the best part was is I had no idea the answer to the question. It was like, "What is Placone inferring by?" And then it was like something that I wrote a long time ago that I barely remember writing, and I'm like, "Yeah, I have no idea what I was inferring there." You'd have to if the kid says, "I'm pretty sure Placone doesn't care," you have to give them an A because that's the truth. I'm Placone. I sign off on this. They could say he doesn't care, and it's like, well, A, we asked about the author.
Do you know how many people though just spend like years working on studies they don't care about, desperately hoping to get into a textbook? I mean, you're really in an envious position for a lot of folks. Yeah.
I mean, it was neat. I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of neat. But then I also kind of thought, like, man, how many students around the country? I mean, I don't know if it went international, so we'll just probably just around the country, like, we're reading this and like we're doing homework they weren't really that interested in, and came across this question and just said like "fuck Placode" or something like that, not even knowing who I am, but like.
They probably read it and then went to Google and said, "Hey, this guy looks like a serial killer."
I got a job for him. I'm gonna see if he'll be in my student film. All right, so here's what Melania said first. With this baller headline here. So with war raging from the Middle East and midterms on the horizon, hopefully, I hope there are I mean, there may or may not be midterms. Let's be honest here. But the White House seemed to have finally shaken the Jeffrey Epstein saga that plagued the first year of Donald Trump's second term. But First Lady Melania Trump, it's still all consuming. Trump's extraordinary remarks on Thursday, distancing herself from the late sex offender, were driven by her months-long fixation on press coverage and internet speculation about her ties to Epstein. Two people familiar with the matter told CNN. There were stories of her being amplified by random blogs, and they were still hitting her over Epstein because that's what they do. She wanted to go on the record and deny it. So basically, she said that she did not meet Donald Trump through Epstein. They met through another person, and she denies basically the stuff Epstein said because there's documentation out there that apparently he said he's the reason that they met, and also that he had relations with Melania. Like that's pretty much the gist of it, right?
Basically, yeah. So it's so weird because the Epstein files, there is a claim made in there that Jeffrey Epstein introduced Melania to Donald Trump, and she admits to meeting Donald Trump at that same time, 1998, when Trump was married, of course. But that's when they met, and the kind of speculation online was that Melania had gotten in this internet fight with this woman named Angela Unago, and she was a former model who was married to Paulo Zimpali, who currently serves in the Trump administration. Paulo has always claimed that he introduced Melania to Trump, and this is why I said it's so weird, because this was like someone like, I've been deep in the Epstein files, written a bunch about it. Like, this was never like a major issue and the Epstein saga had mostly died down. So why she brought this up was mystifying. But the theory was online was that this Angela Unago, her had divorced Paulo, and Paulo was closely tied to Epstein, and Epstein alleged co-conspirator Jean-Luc Brunel. All of them were in the modeling agency. That's where apparently they got these young girls into Epstein's orbit. And in 2020 or 2025, maybe early 26, Zampoli is accused by his former wife Angela of using ICE to deport her so he could get control of their child. And she was threatening to expose all the secrets about Trump and Epstein to Melania online. And she was due to give an interview that came out just this previous Sunday. But I read the interview, and there's nothing revolutionary about it. It's really about her personal life in connection to Epstein, not Melania. So I don't know if there's more to come, but that's really like the only kind of context we have for why Melania decided to do this. This was never really a big rumor. I mean, it was kind of a joke people would make to disparage Melania, like, oh, she trafficked to Trump from Epstein. But like serious researchers, that was never a thing. So I don't know what possessed her or her PR people to come out with this and draw attention to this question.
So here's what contradicts her claims. So now it's like getting more attention.
Mm-hmm.
Unearthed FBI doc undercuts White House denial about Epstein's connection to Melania Trump. So a newly unearthed FBI document appears to directly contradict Melania Trump's statement last week. Last week, she stunned onlookers by issuing a statement seemingly unprompted, denying having had a relationship with Epstein and denying allegations that the disgraced financier, man, what a gentle description for that guy. Disgraced financier. No, he made a couple bad investments. Now he's disgraced. Had been the one to introduce her to Trump. Paolo Zampoli, former modeling agent who now serves as a Trump special envoy, later claimed that he was the one to introduce them. But according to a 2019 FBI interview summary report, one witness, a female from Poland who claimed to have worked for Epstein in the mid-2000s, claimed it was not Zampoli who introduced Mrs. Trump to the future president, but rather Epstein himself. Epstein introduced Melania Trump to Donald Trump. The FBI's summary document reads, written by an FBI special agent whose name was redacted. So, I mean, you kind of touched on this already, but like, why in the big scheme of things does it matter how they met?
That's kind of the mystifying part. And even if it was through Epstein, that doesn't indicate that Melania did something wrong or, I mean, if anything, she'd be a victim, if anything. So I don't understand what she was trying to, what negative press this story has on her that she thought she had to fight against. It's really kind of mystifying. And that's why I think we all expect something else must be coming out that she is anticipating, because what we have really just doesn't make sense.
Do you think she could have been pressured by Trump to do it? Because I mean, I guess it could make Trump look bad if it's just like, oh yeah, like he used to have a thing with her and then he introduced them. I mean, the one connection that not connection, but the one thing I was like curious about that I was just sort of pondering because I was kind of wondering, I'm just like, why does this all the damning things in the Epstein files? Why does this really matter? The one thing I thought of though, and I don't think this is more Trump than Melania, which is why I think maybe he's pressuring her for any normies out there or any members of MAGA who still are just like in denial and they're like, well, I believe Donald when he said he didn't really have any affiliation with the guy. If it becomes an accepted truth that like, well, Epstein freaking introduced him to his wife, that's just sort of like a card for a normie where it's just like, well, how could you deny it at this point? How could you not? I mean, dude, he met his wife through the guy. You know what I mean? Like, that was the only thought that went through my head. Like, maybe that's why this is happening.
Maybe, and maybe that like conflict online they thought was gonna bring that up or something. But there was another so Epstein's story has mostly been sidelined due to what's going on with Iran and Israel in the United States. At that exact same time, there was another Epstein story coming to the news, and that was about how Bill Gates is going to testify before Congress. It's not going to happen until June, but that was getting finalized during the same week Melania came forward. And I'm not sure if that set something off, but it seems like to me, if Epstein was being back in the news, that would put the pressure on Bill Gates. So I think most people associate with like the Democrats. That would again move attention away from the White House. So it's really mystifying.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. Yeah, I guess we'll see how this all concludes. So let's go over to some domestic issues, and then we're gonna go to Israel and Iran to end the show. We'll end the show on a high note, potential World War III. Let's really uplift everybody at the end. But this is interesting. So Bernie Sanders, who we're gonna do another Bernie story at the end here, but Bernie Sanders leads the launch of a worker power movement to fight quote status quo economics. As Republican policies, union busting corporations, and the imminent threat of AI put unprecedented pressure on the U.S. workforce, Bernie Sanders headlined Sunday's launch of a movement to strengthen the labor movement and expand worker power across the country. He spoke at Union Now, building the labor movement. And this was at Hell's Kitchen in Midtown alongside Zora Mamdani and the Association of Flight Attendants and International President Sarah Nelson, other labor and social movement leaders. Unless we fundamentally transform our economic and political systems, the worst is yet to come, Sanders warned. If the middle class of this country is going to survive, we must understand that status quo politics and status quo economics is no longer good enough. Shout out to Status Quo.
Yeah,
A
there
lot of
you
you guys, yeah, I contribute over there. Some at Status Quo. They were on the ground here, which is really cool. Well, what's your take on this, Mr. Nolan?
go.
Dr. Nolan?
Bernie, oh, please call me Nolan. Bernie, Bernie, I mean, he's especially for the last 10 years, he's just been on the right side of history, and it continuously shows that. I mean, he was the one warning in 2016 that if you don't have an economic populist alternative, you're going to end up with Trumpism. And he repeated it in 2020, he repeated it in 2024, and the Dems didn't listen. And where the Dems really have kind of sat in their hands and done what they typically do, which is let the Republicans self implode so then they can get back into power. Bernie's been out there. He's on the oligarchy tour. He's now doing this tour as well for workers. He's been leading things like he did this really interesting AI video a couple weeks ago where
Yeah,
he
that was
interviewed,
fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
like he interviewed AI to show like the problems with AI. Like, he seems to get older yet be more in touch than the Democratic Party. And it's a shame that we can't have him. I doubt he's even thinking about running for
No.
president at this point in his life, but it's a shame we can't have someone with that just sort of like ability to see where the winds are going to be in those debates again.
Yeah, I mean, so I echo all of those sentiments. The one thing that I don't like, and this isn't necessarily directed as at Bernie, is this is more of just a societal observation that I don't love. I don't love the fact that things like this are led by politicians.
Yeah.
Like I just wish we had like a more prominent like labor leaders. Like we just don't really have that. And I don't know the fix for that, but it's like I look around, I'm just like, we need our Eugene Debs, we need our Lucy Parsons, we need our Emma Goldman. We always need an Emma Goldman. Every generation needs like 5 Emma Goldmans. That would be okay, but we don't have any. At least not that I know of. At least not at a scale that they have everyone's attention. And so like I'm glad, like I was glad the end the oligarchy thing happened because I went to the one in Los Angeles, and one, I got to see Neil Young for free. So that's,
Yes.
like that's a feather in your hat. It's just like, hey, the fascist coup was no fun, but at least I got a free Neil Young show. But 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 there were a ton of organizations that grew that day because they were, put front and center in front of a lot of people hungry for change. That was the good part about it. The not so good part about it was you kind of felt like you're just being appeased as the world burns. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, well, you guys, I mean, you guys are politicians, and it's like some of the shit that got us into this mess, you didn't vote the right way on too. And it's just like, I don't know, like you're not supposed to lead things like this. Like we're supposed to lead it so that you're afraid of us. You know what I mean? It's just like if you want to put it bluntly, like the best politician is a scared one, and I'm not implying scared I'm scared in the sense of they'll lose their job if they don't vote a certain way. You know, so
Yeah, that's how the system's supposed to work. And ironically, like Bernie's kind of national popularity somewhat begins with that. Like I don't think you can tell the Bernie Sanders story without the Occupy movement. and the pressure it put on initially. But to your point, I mean, and this goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the Green Party, the stomping out of the Occupy movement, or later on the Gaza encampments, really comes from the Democrat Party. It's not that kind of like fascist right that stomps these things out. Where naturally, where you think these movements would have pressure points on politicians, it's that political party that tends to stomp them out in both those cases. And so I think Bernie, being the natural kind of coming from an organizing background, takes up that mantle. But I totally agree. There's always something dangerous about those in elected seats or positions of power, kind of demagoguing the populace. It should be the populace, like you said, scaring those in power to make the right move. But we don't really have that organization base, especially over the last handful of decades. We become such an individualistic culture, and tech feeds into that, as we tend to go to the phone or social media versus like the public square. So I think it's in an early stage where we don't have the strength and infrastructure of that kind of organizing, unfortunately.
Yeah, it can't. I mean, basically, if your gig starts with a P, you're not going to be the person. So, politician,
Yeah.
podcaster, not going to be you. Can't be you. Sorry. It's got to be someone else. You serve a different lane. You occupy, no pun intended, a different lane. And so be it. But all right, so let's go. This is like, I would say, probably the little bit of good news that we have on the docket for today. Uh New York City, the first city-owned grocery store under Mayor Mamdani, is going to open in Harlem. It probably hurt the New York Post so much to write this headline. They hated him so much.
Oh yeah, God.
They were just fishing for anything they could to smear the laziest. Like, he takes his wife out for sushi. Oh, you don't say. Can't possibly vote for him now. Like, it was amazing the stretches the New York Post was making to smear Mamdani. I think it was just the Cuomo brothers just writing all of those headlines. Like, they
Oh,
just they purchased the space from the New York Post, and they were just writing them. Just two sad fallen from grace brothers writing this bullshit, both pondering how disappointed their father would actually be in them, and then publishing them on the New York Post.
well, that's the difference. It's if the establishment likes you, you can like sexually harass and sexually assault women if you're Cuomo, or let old folks die during the COVID pandemic in old folks' home. We'll look the other way. Mom Donnie, don't you dare say river to the sea.
Yeah,
Where no, you
it's
can't do
amazing.
that, sir.
So the first city-owned grocery store is going to be in East Harlem. It'll cost taxpayers about I love that framing. It'll cost taxpayers about 30 billion. And then that's it. That's it. There's just the cost. And then it's not like, oh, they're all going to have affordable groceries now. Nope. It's going to cost this money. And he's getting it from taxing rich people. But we won't include any of that stuff. The store will be in the La Marqueta, a marketplace under the train tracks. Mamdani revealed the plan at a Queen's Bash celebrating his first 100 days in office, and declared that all 5 of his city-owned grocery stores would be open by the time his first term ends at the close of 2029. I got to say, Mondani is proof that when you have an actionable plan and you truly want to do it, you frickin' can. This guy is getting his shit done. Like, he just is. Like, it's,
Yeah, and he's
should be a
playing
lesson.
politics with the governor
Yeah.
and with the president of the United States.
Yeah.
He's doing what he can, and the only knock on him that I hear from like the papers is that he's not delivering on every single promise. But it's not like he's going against his agenda in any sort of way. I think he's a really phenomenal case study in what is possible. I think a lot of folks around our age were pessimistic about politics. There was so much hope around like the Obama movement, and we saw what it turned into. Mom Donnie, I think, could be the opposite for a younger generation, hopefully.
Well, and hopefully showing people just what it truly means to go local. I mean, because you can't just, it's not just him that's like something to learn from. It's also that entire campaign, and
Mhm.
the fact that in New York City, tons of people, many of whom weren't big fans of electoralism, still were just like, we got an opportunity with this guy, though. And they freaking rolled their sleeves up, and they got him in office, and they were just like, all right, let's get to work now. And this guy better be who he says he is. Otherwise, we're gonna work for someone else the next time. And I just think it's a really I mean, it's not going to be a completely smooth sail. There's no way. That's not possible. But he's getting stuff done and he's doing it well. And he's really, I mean, they're really building something great. And he's got just so much momentum behind him. I mean, when I talk to my friends in New York, I just can't help but be a little envious. It's like they're really building something. And I feel like it is. I mean, New York has always been, like kind of this bastion of hope and something to ascribe to just in the world. It's like New York City, man. And I feel like on a micro contemporary scale in the political world, that's the case right now.
Oh yeah, I think it's the aspiration. And a good point about the campaign, because I think so many campaigns have taken the wrong message from like social media. Like we need to get more in the podcast space, more in the social media. He took the local and enhanced it with social media. That's the best thing social media can do, is enhance what's real, not create what doesn't exist. And I think his campaign did a really good job of putting that together, especially the film crews that followed him around and things like that.
Just the way, I mean, and he made the most out of the moments. He didn't flub it. I mean, just the whole I forget who I was talking to about this, but it's just like just in the moment where they were like, "Where would you go first if you're elected?" And everyone like Andrew Cuomo and that other the red beret cat guy, which the cat guy is the only thing I like about him. But they were all like, "We would go to Israel to blah blah blah." But Dottie, that was a trap. They wanted to try to trap Mom Donnie, like, well, you would go to Israel too, right? Otherwise, you're an anti-Semite. And he just flipped the frickin' script on him. He was just like, I'm gonna stay right here because I'm
Yeah.
the mayor of New York. I will be right here, building a New York for everybody. Oh man, the trap didn't work. The trap failed, New York Post. Try again. You missed. And now it's too late because honestly, this soundbite's gonna give him the fucking win if he didn't have it already. And it was beautiful. It really was.
That was genius. And he did it he does it with that smile, and he was mostly positive. The only time he got kind of, I don't want to say negative, but a little more critical was when he gave his victory speech, ironically. But I think that was like a big payoff for people who'd been waiting for the critical, when he said like, the era of Cuomo is done. I think that was something like they'd wanted to hear throughout the campaign, him
Oh,
make
I loved
some
it.
critique. Oh yeah, it was
Yeah,
great.
no, no, no. I love that. I wanted a little bit of like let's go for the jugular a little bit. I like that. But he's I mean, it's like all of the financial district people, and I was talking to, Mary Houlihan about this. Shout out to Mary Houlihan, the Mary Houlihan Show. It's like they don't want the mayor to just be pissed off at them. They don't want like, they just wanna get along.
Mhm.
So it's like they're gonna just kinda play ball with the guy, and he's proven that he knows how to play ball within the system, which there's a time to do that and a time not to. And guess what? If you want to be an effective mayor, that's something you need to know how to do. And if you can't do that or you're not willing to do that, you'd make a shitty mayor.
Yeah. Let's get a sacrifice for the city. So you take the hit because you dared to talk to Donald Trump, but if Donald Trump goes easy on some of the things he wouldn't do to the city, so you have more funds or opportunity. Bingo. I mean, that's the payoff, right?
Yeah, the fact that he's getting out of people out of detention, it's just like, yeah, that's fine that he was polite to Donald. I think what really happened, he showed Donald Trump a few things on his smartphone, and Donald Trump was like, "Oh, you're okay now." Like I think that's all because like their entire interaction was like your very typical millennial meeting out of touch, like pre-boomer, and just like they're trying to find common ground. So I really think that was all like, oh, you mean I can, you know he showed him how to make a Spotify playlist, and Trump was just like, "Oh, cool. I'm okay with you."
How do you get YMCA to play over and over again? Here, Mr. President, just
How do I find artists like Kid Rock? Um, so we'll go to dystopia now. Amazon is accused of hiding a worker's death for a week, making employees keep working as a corpse lay on the floor. Amazon's warehouse operations have long struggled with high rates of injury. And even in the case of a worker's death, managers are being instructed to tell employees to look away. So this happened April 6th. It was a death of a worker in Oregon. And an employee who was given the pseudonym Sam They told the outlet that despite seeing a body form lying lifeless, his supervisor told them to please get back to work. A woman reportedly ran to the individual in distress and began performing chest compressions on him. Sam, that's the anonymous person, who is trained in CPR, suggested they should help her. I started sobbing and said, I want to help, please. I know she's going to get tired and needs to be subbed out. It has to be management or safety team, his supervisor replied. Just turn around and not look. Let's
Jeez.
get back to work. Holy shit. Holy shit. I mean, this is like you couldn't write this. I mean, you couldn't make a dystopian movie out of it. They'd be like, "That's too freaking much." They just let a person die.
It does seem like a dystopian movie, right? We hear that how Amazon employees are effectively treated like robots, right? They have a certain amount of time to do tasks and they're surveilled and followed. And here it is, like one of the robots broke down. Don't have human empathy for, this person. Keep moving along, robot. It's like so dystopian.
And that's why you're seeing these warehouses on fire. That's why you're seeing these warehouses on fire. I mean, another one just went up today.
Oh, I
Like,
didn't see that. Where at?
yeah, Compton, near me,
Oh, yeah.
actually. Yeah, Compton, California, not too far from me. I mean, I think we're up to like 7 or 8 now. People are at their breaking point, which I will say, uh, I understand why this is happening, and I understand disruption absolutely needs to happen. What I do wish is instead of like the Kimberly Clark warehouse, that was like so much paper products that it's almost like you just burned down the Amazon twice. Because like Kimberly Clark, they're one of the most environmentally destructive companies in the freaking world. They're terrible. So it's like if you're gonna like burn down the paper products that they burned down the Amazon to make, it's like, oh, yeah, I don't know. What I wish would happen instead is that there would be this hyper organized mutual aid effort to steal all of this shit and give it to people in need. That's what I would rather see instead. No risk of anybody getting injured. No, just a highly organized effort to just steal the shit and just give it to people who need it. And then you disrupt that way.
Yeah, I think Luigi shooting the healthcare official, I think that was the warning shot to the wealthy. And I remember watching Elon Musk, himself a recipient of millions, if not billions, of government funding, celebrating with a chainsaw, probably high on ketamine, about cutting funding for workers in the American public. And I just thought at that moment, I was like, this is the decline of the social contract, right? The reason why people supposedly accept the outcome of the system is because we believe the system is fair. When you have things like Elon Musk benefiting from government taxpayer money and then cutting taxpayer money to people who need it, people increasingly get reminded about the system is stacked against them, and then they no longer act within the system; they act without, and that's how you end up with lighting of warehouses, the Molotov cocktails at Sam Altman of OpenAI's house that also happened this week, and apparently that person had a list of other AI execs he was targeting. It's not necessarily advocating for it, but just an observation and a warning that the further you push working people, especially to the point where they're dying and we're told that we're not supposed to have any empathy or try and save them. Don't be surprised if a lot of people out of desperation turn to these kind of means to try and, in their probably estimation, change the system in the right direction.
Well, it's the age old saying: those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. So it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, if you're gonna keep pushing these people, and by people I mean all of us, really, but in particular, the people who are working full time in a warehouse and aren't getting paid enough to survive.
Hmm.
It's like it's not even cost of living that's not being met. It's cost of survival that's
Yeah.
not being met. We need to start calling it like it is, because living and surviving are not the same thing. You want to know what
Mhm.
living is? This is what living is for a dignified human. Living is you make enough to have a quality life, to have the food that you need, to provide for your household what they need. You have enough that if an emergency happens, you're going to be okay. And you have enough that you can go on a dignified vacation every year. And you have enough that you get to have a work life balance where you can have quality family time. That's living. That's living. Surviving is, well, we were able to make rent this month, barely, but we made it. So cost of surviving isn't being met. That's not being met, let alone cost of living. And so, people can only take so much. And when they have nothing to lose, this is where we're at. This is where we're at.
And that's why it's so important not to buy into like that right-wing rhetoric of so-called minimum wage. Livable wage is what people are fighting for, not a raise in minimum wage. We want to get a livable wage. That's the ultimate goal for folks.
Mhm. Absolutely. So, in that vein, here's another domestic thing before we get to what's going on in the world. Workers at LA Stadium threaten World Cup strike amid anger over ice. So, a hospitality union that represents 2,000 workers at SoFi Stadium. By the way, side note, do not see a concert at SoFi. Just don't do it. Uh,
Did you see one? Is this why? Are you speaking from experience here?
it is the worst sound I've ever experienced
Wow.
in my life at a venue of that scale. It is not meant for I'm sure it's a wonderful actually, have I seen a sporting event there? I don't think I have. I'm sure it's wonderful as a sporting venue. It's a very nice venue in and of itself. It's not meant for concerts. I saw the Rolling Stones there. The shows themselves still kicked ass because of who I was seeing. I mean, I saw the Stones, I saw Green Day,
Nice.
and that was on like the Green Day Smashing Pumpkins tour.
Awesome.
So the shows themselves were still great, but like the sound was so atrocious. Like I almost felt like I felt like I was in 4th grade again listening to Dookie on my like $10 boombox as a kid because that's how shitty the freaking sound was. And yeah, I mean I certainly still enjoyed the shows, but I said to my wife, I was just like, you know what? If something that I really wanna see is coming to SoFi, I will try to see it in a different city if I can, or I will skip it probably. Like, the sound here is just terrible. I just saw Springsteen a couple weeks ago. Fortunately, he was at the Forum, he wasn't at SoFi.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, sounds atrocious. Side note for anyone in LA or anyone who might be in LA. So they're threatening to strike during the World Cup if FIFA leaders do not heed their concerns about working conditions in the presence of ice. This summer, SoFi Stadium will be thrust into the national spotlight as it hosts 8 World Cup matches between June and July. Los Angeles is estimated to see 150,000 more out-of-town visitors than typical for the time period. Kurt Peterson, co-president of Unite Here Local 11, outlined a slew of union demands in a letter addressed to FIFA president Gianni Infantino and Stan Kroenke, the billionaire sports mogul who built the stadium. Peterson called for the leaders to abide by fair working practices, citing allegations of wage theft overseas. Peterson also demanded a public statement saying ICE has no place in the city or at the games. Good for them, and I hope they strike like hell if those demands are not met. And FIFA is a pretty corrupt sports league. They all are. I mean, all sports leagues are pretty messed up. But yeah, FIFA's no different. And I hope they get all this. And if they don't, I hope they strike. I would love nothing more.
It's a great opportunity. Workers don't get opportunities like this where the eyes of the world are watching and there's so much money resting on their shoulders. And this is such a huge issue domestically that is ICE and immigration raids. So all the power to them. Wish them all the best.
Yeah, and you know what? It'll be a really nice warning shot if they're, hopefully their demands are met. And if they're not, it'll be a hell of a warning shot because if they shut it down, they're going to be like, okay, this is what we did for the World Cup. Want to push your luck, see what we'll do for the Olympics?
Mhm.
You want to fuck around, see what we'll do for the freaking Olympics? We're going to be embarrassed around the world no matter what. Because people are going to be like, this is the infrastructure a city of the world has? Yes. Los Angeles is just a giant freaking car. That's just the reality. So we're already going to be embarrassed around the world. But like you really want to like you want people to just shut it down during the Olympics. They were probably so scared of that happening in Paris. They
Oh
were
God, yeah.
probably shitting their pants. They go on strike I mean, they do not F around there. Like, they go on strike at the, "Oh, you wanna raise our pension age by 2 years? We're striking. We're striking. Today, we strike. Tomorrow, we cover a politician's house and shit. If you wanna push this to day 3, we're burning down a bank." And then it never goes to day 3.
No, and they like they have to have people go in and research to find out how strikes started. They blow up, they put so much pressure on, and then people are like, "How did that even thing begin?" I talked to a
Yeah.
researcher about that one time. She was like, "Yeah, we had to go back and try and figure out how the strike started in the first place."
They don't mess around. And that's what happens when your healthcare is not tied to a job.
Yep.
That's what happens when your healthcare is not tied to a job and you have a social safety net and you have basic dignity. Whenever somebody tries to F with you, you have a lot of ways to fight back. All right, so let's go to the leading story for today on our docket here, and that is this vote that Bernie Sanders is trying to force. Now, obviously, this is something that a politician needs to take the lead on because it's in the lawmaking space. So, enough is enough. Sanders moves to force votes against Trump arms sales to Israel. The United States must use the leverage we have, tens of billions in arms and military aid, to demand that Israel end these atrocities, said Bernie Sanders. U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders plans to force votes Wednesday on a pair of resolutions that, if enacted, would block the sale of roughly $500 million of weaponry to the Israeli government, citing its bombardment and invasion of Lebanon, continued assault on the Gaza Strip, and accelerating annexation of the West Bank. In a statement previewing the Senate votes, Sanders said that the U.S. taxpayers have spent tens of billions of dollars in support of the racist extremist Netanyahu government. Enough is enough. The United States must use the leverage we have. Here, let's just watch the video.
Thanks very much for joining me. I want to talk to you about two votes that I am forcing in the Senate today. Votes that could determine whether the United States continues to fund the extremist Netanyahu government's devastation in Gaza, the West Bank, and Lebanon. Some of the most horrific atrocities now taking place anywhere in the world. As all of you know, on October 7th, 2023, Hamas, a terrorist organization, attacked Israel. They killed over 1,200 innocent men, women, and children and took hundreds of hostages. Like any other country, Israel had the absolute right to defend itself and respond to the Hamas attack. But Israel did not have the right to violate international law and wage an all-out war of enormous destruction against the entire Palestinian people in what experts have correctly concluded is a genocide. Out of a population of 2.2 million people, Israel has now killed more than 72,000 Palestinians and wounded more than 170,000, the majority of whom are women, children, and elderly people. 90% of the housing units in Gaza have been damaged or destroyed, and most people are now living in tents. Virtually the entire infrastructure in Gaza, including its water, sewer systems, and electricity, have been destroyed. Every single one of Gaza's 12 universities has been bombed. Hundreds of schools have been destroyed, and their entire educational system has been decimated. Most kids in Gaza now are not in school. More than 1,700 healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, paramedics have been killed, and 94% of the hospitals destroyed. In addition, Israel imposed a blockade of food, water, fuel, and medicine so total and so deliberate that it produced mass malnutrition. In fact, hundreds of people in Gaza actually starved to death.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Yeah, I like that second part of the speech better than the first part. I'm really tired of the whole, just genuflecting and doing that, and I know all politicians are going to do it, but it's just like,
But he's one of the few who
no.
shouldn't have to. I mean, his family died in the Holocaust. I mean,
No kidding, right?
I mean, Gentiles, I guess. But he doesn't have to. But I mean, that's Bernie always checking the boxes.
Yeah. He's always going to check the boxes. But I mean, I'm glad he's doing it. Has there been an update? Did the vote happen? Do we know?
I haven't seen if the vote occurred yet, but what really kind of stood out to me about this also came within 24 hours of CNN's Harry Enton doing this polling about U.S. feelings toward Israel. And he was basically pointing out that now, like, Democrats and Republicans and largely all age groups have increased their criticism of the Israeli government. And that's just such a big shift from where we were in the spring of 2024, when you weren't even criticism of the Israeli government or Netanyahu was tantamount to anti-Semitism, and there was like no room for discussion as far as legacy media and the political class were concerned. In fact, in California, there's still laws in the book where I'm not allowed to criticize Israel in the classroom.
Wow.
That's anti-Semitism.
Really?
Yes, that was Gavin Newsom signed that. Mr. Now all of a sudden wavering on APAC. So it's just, to me, it's just such a major sea change, and I think it says what actually a lot of Israeli critics were pointing out back in 2024, that like it's ultimately going to be Israel that suffers from what Israel is doing in Gaza in terms of like the court of public opinion, and I think that's sort of borne out now, where even like younger folks have a more positive image of the Palestinians. That wasn't the case just about a year and a half ago in the American public.
I feel like it goes in waves, though, unfortunately. I feel like the cycle repeats itself where Israel will do something very, very atrocious in the public eye, and those walls start to break down of the whole propaganda, like, oh, criticizing the Israeli government is anti-Semitism, which is beyond ridiculous and intellectually insulting on so many levels. But like, those walls break down, but then they get built back up again because, like you said, like just in 2024, it was just like, oh, you can't, you're anti-Semitic if you criticize. I mean, we're leveling Gaza, but don't, if you criticize that, you're an anti-Semite. And it's like, by the way, that sentiment does not exist anywhere else in the world other than the United States and Israel. Like anywhere else, that sentiment does not exist at all.
To your point, like even the criticism from politicians now in the Democratic Party are about the Israeli government, so the one currently in power. So I could see a sea change where like Netanyahu, removed from power, passes away, whatever. Then you'll see the sea change back. I could totally see that happening.
Well, if the Israeli government is not committing a genocide, then that'd be a much that'd be okay. Like that'd be, that would be very nice.
You have such high standards. Yeah.
I know, right? Isn't that, I'm asking for a lot, really. It's a purity test, Now is not the time. Now is not the time for your purity.
It's the problem with these leftists. They're not realistic.
Not realistic. Come on. Isn't that, oh man. And we're gonna, that's coming soon, by the way. We're gonna get a new round of that on the way. If the midterms happen, do you think we're gonna have midterms? What's your over under?
I think we'll have them. I mean, I think there's going to be some chicanery, but I think we'll have them.
Oh, there's always chicanery.
Yeah,
there's always chicanery. That's like oh, it's Tuesday. Yeah, I mean, there's always chicanery. Like the sun came up today in SoCal. Oh no shit. Like, but I, honestly, I'm 50-50.
Is that right?
I think there's a chance it doesn't happen. I think there's a chance that Trump evokes something. I mean, he's already asking like other countries, like, how'd you pull that off? I think there's a chance he evokes some ridiculous thing and we just don't have midterms. And I just don't see, because I don't really see our banana republic government doing anything about it.
You wouldn't get Mike Johnson to do anything about it for sure. No. The House would, and that would have to go to the House first. So I guess that would.
There'd be a lot of tweets from Democrats. Don't get me wrong. There'd be some angry tweets. But that'd be it. That'd be where it began and end. There'd be some. They would just be like, oh man, think about how hard we can fundraise in 28 if we just don't have midterms, and then we can really just run whatever pile of dung we want to because people will just vote for a stale ham sandwich over the Republicans. That's what they'd be thinking.
That's so true. You need to vote harder and donate to the Democrats.
Vote harder. No, sorry you didn't get to vote this time, but doesn't that make you want to vote harder next time in 2028? This is the only way we can probably make Newsom palatable for like everybody. Do you think he's going to be the guy?
I mean, I don't really see anybody kind of capturing the national attention. I mean, we are about over 2 years out, and once the midterms are over, I think it'll become very clear who's serious contender. And right now, he's the only one I see who's really kind of serious. And I think someone like AOC may enter and be competitive with young people, but I see her getting character assassinated and having an uphill battle.
Do you think? I mean, what kind of leverage, what ammunition do they really have on her?
Oh, nothing that's like legitimate. I mean, it'll be the
Right.
same stuff. She's a communist, she's a socialist, sympathizer with whatever
I
country.
wish all that was true.
Yeah, I know that's the
I really
character
wish,
that they
like,
always
they
paint.
had I wish that was true, like, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's things AOC has done that I've liked, things I haven't liked. I will say some of her statements as of recent, I think she spends too much time online.
Mm,
I don't know. I don't know if you have that, but, like, I feel like she spends a lot of time, like, responding to, like, podcasters and, dwelling in these terminally online spaces and worried about what they think of her, and I'm just kinda like, "Not your job." Like, why
no,
do you like, the fact that you're spending time on this is not great. Like, that's really not great. And I feel like, like, Talib, Ilhan Omar, they don't really spend time on that, you know? And it kinda shows.
and she's a it's not too surprising, right? She's a product of the online
Yeah.
AOC, a lot of her movement, not in the way Mom Donnie was. I don't mean to compare the two like we were talking about earlier, but AOC spent a lot of time kind of building her brand online where those others didn't necessarily. But yeah, I think, Pritzker, I think he's going to jump in. I think it's going to be another Tom Steyer issue. How do you run an affordability with a billionaire in there? I don't know. Do you think of any other candidates you think are like serious
I don't
contenders? And
know. I mean, yeah, that's the problem. There's, like, nobody who I see, like, kind of stepping up and meeting the moment. I mean, I could see AOC trying to make a go of it. Um, I don't know how it would go. I mean, I feel like it could be another Obama situation, and I don't necessarily mean politically. Obviously, I hope she would not, do what Barack Obama ended up doing, but like uh at first everybody was saying Obama was too young, he was too inexperienced, he was too this, he was too that, but then he just really came out like just all like just blazing, like he was just firing on all cylinders and it couldn't be denied. People were just like, "Well, who said?" Like who wrote
Mhm.
that law? Like we want this guy, and it was from a campaign standpoint, it was a phenomenal effort. Like it was like one of the best campaigns, like maybe in all of our lifetimes, in 2008. So it's kind of like I could see something like that happening for an AOC. Or I could see it just like going the complete opposite, where it's like another Dukakis level turnout. And I feel like it'll be one or the other. I feel like it will not be in between. It will either be like, holy shit, they pulled it off, or it'll be like, oh man, this tanked.
I mean, as we know, like women have additional challenges as
Yeah.
being targets of sexism in general. But I think there's also like an anti-sexist portion of the Democrat Party that's going to create a challenge for her. I think there's this conventional wisdom that the country won't elect a woman. So there's a lot of Democrats who are not going to want to support a woman because they believe that. I've never believed that. Like Hillary Clinton got more votes than Donald Trump. I'm not a Hillary Clinton fan, but I mean, it happened.
Yeah.
So like, I think the country will, but I wonder how much that like sort of repeating that narrative gets into people's minds where they say like, well, I can't support the woman because, the country won't vote for a woman, and they end up going for like Newsom or something like that.
I can see that. Yeah. I mean, I can see a lot of people just being like, oh, well, it's got to be Newsom. And then there's also like this idea that most of the country is like hyper conservative, even though it's like at the end of the day, like the whole reason we're in this mess is because in 2016, people wanted a true populist turn. And when that was denied in Bernie Sanders, they took a chance on the fake guy. Like they took a chance on the fake populist message of Trump, which was a freaking joke and a bunch of baloney, but people took a chance on it because they were so tired of the Beltway. I mean, it's just so like so yeah. I mean, I don't buy that stuff either. Like I don't buy like, oh well, most people don't want people to have health care. Most people just don't want things to change in this country where nobody is happy with the status quo. Literally nobody except for people who are in denial. They just don't want actual change though. Like no, they want the guy who said hope and change won in a landslide twice. He won like twice. He won in a freaking landslide. Like, people want change. Like, yeah, anyway, but
Yeah,
yeah.
instead they chase like this like unicorn former Republican centrist
Yeah.
population that's gonna tilt it in the Democrats' way that never seems to emerge.
Yeah, this invisible moderate who doesn't exist. Like or it's like, hey, how about half the country who doesn't vote? Ever think of turning up for them? You know, because when Trump effed things up so bad that we had this ridiculous high voter turnout, people were just showing up, but they weren't voting for something. They were just voting against Trump. And that was enough for Biden to win, sure. But that wasn't enough to really get people engaged in the process. That's why Kamala Harris didn't have that going for her.
And well, you were back to you were asking about whether or not this vote will take place. I do think connected to this, one of the things that uh, the Republicans tried to change in a lot of these states was gerrymander to, and they did it based on the 2024 map. But the 2024 map was largely more of a rejection of the Democrats than support for Donald Trump. And I think you're going to see a huge backfire with if the election does take place with these new maps in terms of like how the voter turnouts occur, because those are based on numbers that are really kind of ahistorical, and I don't think they're going to repeat in 2024. So the Republicans may actually have screwed themselves with the gerrymander movement.
That'd be interesting. That'd be interesting if they ended up somehow shooting themselves in the foot. But it's possible they love guns a lot, so maybe maybe they're fine even with that. Nolan, so I guess this is if you're not already, please make sure you're subscribed to Nolan's Substack. Please make sure you're subscribed to my Substack. And then of course my YouTube is just Ron Placone on YouTube. And Nolan, tell everyone where to subscribe to your YouTube and the other podcasts.
Yeah, I'm at the Disinfo Detox, so you can find me there. I'm also on Just Ask the Press with Brian Kareem once a week on Sundays, and my Substack's nolanhigdon.substack.com.
Right on. Well, dude, thanks for doing this. This might be a Wednesday thing, y'all. Wednesdays around this time, 7 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Mix it up sometimes. Sometimes just, yeah, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. But yeah, right on. And we're both in Pacific, right? So we're both like
We're both on the West Coast, yeah.
that's right. I was like, did I tell Nolan the wrong time? Because I'm like, oh wait, no, we're both in California. All right. So it's 4 p.m. for both of us. But all right, we will hopefully see you next Wednesday. If you enjoyed this, please make sure you're subscribed to our Substacks, our YouTubes, and we'll be coming back at you.
Let's do it again.